What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I am coming at you just from outside our outbound lanes at the Springfield terminal. And I wanted to talk about a phrase that I use a lot, and it's a phrase that I've leaned on my entire life. And I don't know if this guy, Bob Badnock or whatever his name is trying to choose to pick a fight. You know, I've seen him in other people's comments, just kind of going back and forth with him on stuff that really doesn't make sense. So for anybody else that may be thinking along the same lines as him, I want to clear up what I mean when I say you can't skip the struggle. Now, apparently, he referred me to the dictionary as to what struggle means and was basically accusing me of coming down hard on bastards just because I know more than they do to create strength. Definitely not the case at all. Definitely nothing like that. But I'm going to refer to something because this isn't a phrase that I came up with. This was a phrase that I actually learned from a motivational class that I'd gone through maybe about 15 years ago. But here's what it says when it says you can't skip the struggle. So it says, stop trying to stop trying to skip the struggle. That's where character is built. Embrace it, learn from it, grow because of it. Struggles, challenges, and hard times offer you much more value than any other time in your life. You cannot grow without struggle. You cannot get stronger without resistance. Think about a time in your life that may have been hard, but forced you to become better. Get grateful for the struggles and work on yourself to ensure your future has much more pleasure than pain. Struggle makes you stronger. Now, here's what I mean when I say that, or I'm just going to give you an instance. I can give you a number of different instances. I can go to the Marine Corps and talk about it, but I'm going to talk about my personal life. Just going to paint the picture so you can kind of see it a little bit better. But back in 1977, I met my still best friend to this day. And lived next to each other until he went off to college and I went off to the Marine Corps. And once we were done with both of that, we kind of got back together again. We were roommates for a number of years until he got married. And all that. When we reminisce on our times back in the days, we don't think about all the good stuff. We think about the struggles that we went through, and we look back on those days like, man, almost in amazement of where we're at now, especially him, where we're at now in relation to where we were back when we were floating checks so our rent wouldn't bounce. I would write a check to the apartment complex knowing I didn't have enough money. I might have been a few $100s short. He would write me a check for that same amount. So when they cashed my check, it showed a balance. You can't do that these days. It showed a positive balance in my account. Then I wrote him back another check. So we were basically floating checks. There were times when we were having to pool together $25 just to try to make it to payday to, get some food or whatever it was. When we talk about times, we talk about those times. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking about, all the good stuff. The good stuff is obvious. It's the bad stuff that isn't so obvious. So that's what I'm talking about when I say you can't skip the struggle. When I talk to my boys in the Marines, we'll talk about the times that were the more challenging times more than the times that were just the easy times. That's what I mean when I say that you can't skip the struggle. The struggle that I went through back when I tried to go out off on my own and mortgages, and the mortgage industry collapsed and all that stuff around 2008. I'm sure that some of you guys remember that time. The struggle that I went through to get back on my feet is what makes everything now even much more sweeter. I don't know what age this guy is. I don't know if it matters or not. I mean, typically if somebody would have been, as sensitive about this topic, back when I was growing up, we would have told him to grab your orange slices and sit on the sidelines. But this is a little soft for me. So if it upsets anybody else other than this guy, when I say you can't skip the struggle, I apologize. Now, if he's trying to say that I try to exert my dominance on anybody that I'm training, not the case at all. As a matter of fact, I've had most of the people that I trained in my videos at one point or another. You could call me anything. You could say I'm a bad trainer. You could say whatever, but nobody could ever say that I'm trying to dominate somebody, to either build them or build myself. I don't know exactly which point he was trying to make here. But, when I'm saying you can't skip the struggle, or in one case I said everybody tries to skip the struggles these days, it's when people are trying to avoid paying their dues. And that has nothing to do with money. It could be a number of different things. It's just paying dues in general. So, that seems, I don't know if it's everybody tries to talk about all these different generations and stuff like that. I don't know if that's a generational thing or what the breakdown is on this, but I just don't get it. Especially on something like this. I mean, even if somebody was to take this the wrong way, coming off like this is a little bit too soft for me. And if you happen to be watching this right now, hey, I am not the channel for you. There are plenty of other channels out there. Listen, there are plenty of other channels out there that are going to be, out there showing you a day in the life and walking around with their camera, doing different stuff out. Listen, I just come in here. It's basic. I talk, I say what I got to say, and that's it. And if it was just me that I was seeing these comments on, I might think, you know what? That's one thing. But if I'm seeing your name pop up in other people's stuff, and you're doing the same thing, that's a you problem. So, I apologize to anybody else that may have felt that way, that just didn't voice their opinion in my comments section. I guess you just don't know these days. Especially, if I was one of those people, I could almost swallow this. If I was one of these people, I don't know. Anyway, that's what I mean when I say that you can't skip the struggle, and I definitely do live by that. The more struggle you put in now, the easier it is down the road. You don't hear old people talking about they walk downhill both ways to school in the sunlight. What do they say? We walked uphill both ways to school in the snow. It's that challenge, you know what I mean? And I hate to say you know what I mean, but you do know what I mean. You know what? And here's another thing. It's another reason why a lot of times the generation after the people that have done well and pass on all that stuff, when people are talking about, I want generational wealth and all that kind of stuff, and they make it too easy on that next generation, sometimes they don't appreciate the stuff because they didn't work for it. They did skip that struggle. Can't even believe I'm having to make a video. I don't have to make a video about it, but I felt so strongly about this that I had to make a video about it. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe, and I'm out with your soft ass.